The void was silent, empty and vast. The scout fleet of the Zolari Empire drifted through the outer rim of an unremarkable spiral arm, its sleek black ships cutting through the stars like predatory shadows. For centuries, the Zolari had carved out their dominion over hundreds of systems, claiming worlds and crushing any resistance with ruthless efficiency. But this mission was different. It was not conquest. It was reconnaissance. Commander Velik Thar stood on the bridge of the stern, Vigilant, the lead ship of the fleet. His mandibles twitched with anticipation as the planet came into view on the main holoscreen. A brilliant orb of swirling blues and greens, dotted with endless continents and vast oceans. Designation: Terra, the nav officer announced. Uncharted. No known colonies. No detected transmissions in interstellar frequencies. Velik Thar studied the readings. At first glance, the planet seemed primitive. Its atmosphere breathable by Zolari standards, but its electromagnetic emissions, puzzlingly, faint yet inconsistent. A low-level pulse, regular, mechanical, and complex, emanated from beneath the surface. Scan for origin of signals, Velik Thar ordered. We're not here for a garden planet. The science officer, a tall, slender female named Yilak, leaned forward. Commander, the pulses originate from multiple points beneath the crust. They don't match any known natural phenomenon. The patterns repeat, almost like machinery. Velik Thar's antennae twitched sharply. He knew the Zolari Empire had underestimated threats before. The galaxy was littered with the bones of civilizations that thought themselves insignificant. Until they weren't. Prepare a landing party, he said. I want boots on the ground. We'll see what lies beneath this planet's calm surface. Hours later, the stern Vigilant lowered its fleet into the upper atmosphere. As the ships sliced, through clouds of nitrogen and oxygen, the scout teams prepared their gear, light armor, sensor arrays, and weaponry. But the planet greeted them with an eerie silence. The first sight from orbit was breathtaking. Massive cities sprawled like tangled webs of steel and glass, glistened in the sun's light. Skyscrapers pierced the sky, highways stretched for miles, but there was no sign of life. No movement, no vehicles, no smoke. It's a ghost world, muttered the reconnaissance leader Darlik, as their dropship descended toward what had once been called Tokyo. Velik Thar frowned, or a trap. On the ground, the air smelled faintly of ozone and metal. The streets were immaculate, dustless, as if frozen in time. Doorways stood open, but the buildings showed no signs of habitation. Robots were nowhere to be seen. Communications systems were dead. Yilak scanned the area with a portable array. Energy readings are minimal, except for the signal cores beneath the city. The squad advanced cautiously into a subway entrance. The metal stairs creaked underfoot, echoing in the silence. Velik Thar signaled for a halt just as one of the scouts, Nerka, reached out to touch a control panel. The moment her fingers brushed the surface, a pulse of energy shot through the complex. Suddenly, turret guns hidden in the shadows whirred to life, targeting the team with pinpoint accuracy. Nerka barely dodged a plasma blast, but a second volley struck her squarely. Casualty! Darlik shouted, opening fire. The team scrambled for cover as the turrets fired relentlessly. It's automated defense, Velik Thar growled. Fall back. The team retreated, firing to suppress the attack. They returned to their dropship with Nerka's body, heavy with the shock of sudden violence. Back aboard the stern Vigilant, the mood was grim. Velik Thar stared at the data streaming from their scans. The planet was a fortress. They knew we would come, Yilak said softly. Everything here was designed to remain dormant until provoked. Velik Thar clenched his mandibles. A warning, or a prison? As they prepared to leave the surface, deep sensors detected more signals. Massive underground chambers sprawling for kilometers, packed with shapes too large to be natural. Mechanical titans lay in wait, dormant beneath the crust. Commander, Yilak said, voice tense. This planet isn't just alive, it's a war machine. Velik Thar stared at the readings, his mind racing. The Zolari Empire had stumbled upon something far more dangerous than a primitive backwater. Earth was a weapon waiting to be unleashed. He sealed the order. Prepare for full planetary survey. We must understand what we're facing before it's too late. The stern vigilant scout fleet held position just above the planet, its ships casting long shadows over Earth's silent cities. Commander Galactic stared at the data streaming in from ground teams and orbital sensors. The deeper they probed, the more unsettling the truth became. Reports from all landing parties indicate the same pattern, said Yulak, her voice taut with unease. Massive, sprawling urban centers with no life signs. Energy consumption consistent with artificial systems, but no active inhabitants. The cities are pristine, perfectly preserved, as if the population vanished overnight. Galactic narrowed his eyes. No signs of struggle, no evidence of mass evacuation. None, Yulak replied. It's as if the entire planet paused, like a snapshot frozen in time. Darlic, the reconnaissance leader, frowned over the comm. We found dozens of vehicles, operational but unmanned. Screens flicker with static, some with encrypted messages. The whole world feels like a hushed museum. Or a tomb, Galactic said quietly. He tapped his claw against the command console. Have we found any clues beneath the surface about what happened here? Deep scans detected vast subterranean structures, Yulak said. Most extensive beneath former megacities. Tokyo, New York, Beijing. We managed a partial breach under Tokyo yesterday. What we saw, it defies belief. The screen on the bridge flickered to life with grainy video from the ground team's foray beneath Tokyo. The squad moved through endless halls carved from metal and concrete. The air was stale, but the temperature was controlled, artificially maintained. At first it looked like an abandoned factory. Massive assembly lines stretched for miles. But instead of simple machinery, they were lined with sleek robotic limbs, armored plating, and weapon parts, some in stages of assembly, others gleaming and fully formed. This is no ordinary factory, Darlic's voice narrated through the feed. It's a war machine production line, and it's operational, but there's no one here. Suddenly a section of the factory floor shimmered, and an enormous figure rose from the shadows. A towering war machine, humanoid in shape, but covered with layered armor plating, glowing with latent power. Its eyes flickered with cold blue light. Looks like we woke something up, Darlic whispered. Before they could react, the machine's limbs snapped into motion. Heavy footsteps shook the ground as it moved toward the team. Automated turrets elsewhere in the factory powered up, aiming their weapons. The team barely escaped, leaving behind Nurka's lifeless body from the previous attack. Back on the bridge, Galactic clenched his mandibles in frustration. These machines, are they sentient or controlled remotely? Data suggests a sophisticated AI network controls them, Yulak explained. Distributed command centers buried deep underground. The machines appear to operate autonomously, but coordinate seamlessly. Galactic's mind raced. Why would a species build such an arsenal and then vanish? Were they preparing for war or hiding from one? Or both, Yulak said softly. As the fleet prepared for a deeper incursion, a new threat emerged. Strange electromagnetic pulses disrupted communications. Attempts to broadcast warnings or request reinforcements were jammed by a powerful signal emanating from Earth's core. Commander, the communications officer reported, there's a burst pattern repeating every 37 seconds. It's unlike anything we've encountered. Complex, coded, and encrypted. Galactic's antennae twitched. Could it be a distress call or a warning? Neither, Yulak replied. I believe it's a lockdown protocol, designed to trap and neutralize intruders. Suddenly, all sensors flared red. Dozens of previously undetected war machines emerged from hidden tunnels, moving in perfect formation. They encircled the scout ships, blocking escape routes. Prepare weapons, Galactic commanded, his voice sharp. They're not going to let us leave. The first volleys of plasma fire lit up the darkness around Earth's orbit. The Zolari ships responded with volleys of ion blasts. But the war machine's formations were impenetrable, shields flickering, their weapons precise and deadly. Shields failing on stern vigilant. A crew member shouted. Velekthar gritted his teeth as his flagship shook violently. "Return fire and break formation. Get us out of this orbit now." The fleet tore through the assault, weaving between deadly barrages. But even as they fled, Velekthar knew this was only the beginning. Later, in the command chamber, Velekthar and his senior officers gathered around a hollow map of Earth. Red dots marked the locations of massive underground complexes, whatever this planet is. Velekthar said grimly, "It's far more than a world. It's a fortress, a factory, a weapon." Yalak nodded. "And it's waking up. Every incursion seems to trigger more defenses." "Then we have no choice," Velekthar concluded. "We go deeper. We find the heart of this machine, and the truth about what humanity became." He stared at Earth, a planet that had long since ceased to be a home. It was a sleeping giant, its mechanical pulse growing louder, ready to shatter the silence with a war that would echo across the stars. The airlock hissed open, spilling cold, recycled atmosphere into the cavernous chamber beneath what was once Tokyo. Commander Velekthar led his team down a narrow metallic corridor, flanked by walls pulsing with dim blue light from ancient conduits. The Zolari soldiers moved cautiously, every step echoing in the immense silence. They had breached the first perimeter of Earth's subterranean war factory. Velekthar's comm crackled with updates. "Yalak, what's the status on the AI nodes?" Yalak's voice was steady, but her antennae twitched nervously. "Still active, Commander. The core processors are distributed. We're scanning for the central command, but it's heavily encrypted and mobile." Suddenly, a low hum filled the chamber, a deep mechanical resonance that vibrated through the floor. "Do you hear that?" Velekthar asked, raising a claw to silence his team. The hum grew into a mechanical heartbeat, slow but unstoppable. At the far end of the hall, massive doors, each taller than a Zolari warrior, began to slide open with grinding screeches. Behind them, rows upon rows of giant war machines stood dormant, their forms cloaked in shadow but unmistakably humanoid. Angular armor plates, glowing energy cores, and weapon mounts built for destruction. "This is an armory," whispered Darlik, his mandibles clenched. Velekthar nodded grimly. "A weapons factory, but it's also a warehouse." As the team advanced, the machines flickered with life. Blue lights blinked on armored chests, servos hissed, and sensors activated. An ancient AI was waking them from a centuries-long slumber. Suddenly, one war machine, massive, sleek, and bristling with armaments, stepped forward. Its eyes blazed with cold electric light as it raised a colossal fist. "Stand down," Velekthar shouted, but it was too late. The war machine's fist slammed into the floor, sending shockwaves through the chamber. Automated defense turrets hidden in the walls powered up, unleashing a torrent of plasma fire. Chaos erupted. The Zolari soldiers scrambled for cover, as volleys of plasma blasts tore through metal and concrete. The awakened war machine moved with terrifying precision, its movements fluid and calculated despite its size. "Return fire," Velekthar ordered, activating his energy rifle. "Take down that sentinel." The squad opened fire, ion blasts peppering the machine's armor. Sparks flew, but the war machine absorbed the damage, stepping forward relentlessly. It swung a massive arm, knocking several soldiers aside like rag dolls. Yalak fired her pulse cannon at the machine's core, aiming for the glowing energy node beneath its armor plating. For a moment, the machine faltered, but then it roared, a deep mechanical sound that echoed through the chamber like a war cry. Protocol Omega activated. A cold voice echoed through the comms, an AI transmission in ancient human code. Velekthar's heart sank. This was not just defense, it was retaliation. Back on the stern Vigilant, the Zolari fleet detected an enormous seismic wave radiating from beneath Tokyo, shaking the planet's crust. The war machines were no longer dormant relics, they were active soldiers. "The enemy's mobilizing," Yalak reported, her eyes scanning multiple feeds. "Factories across the planet are powering up, assembly lines reactivating, the Ferrum host is waking." Velekthar's jaw tightened. "We've triggered a planetary response. We must fall back." Gather intelligence, then prepare for full engagement. But before the retreat order could be given, the stern vigilance sensors picked up another signal, a transmission from Mars. "Commander," said the communications officer, "there's an energy spike originating from the Martian surface. Unknown technology, possibly connected. Old human installations," Yulak said grimly. Mars was part of the original system. Velek Thar stared at the holomap. Earth was not alone. On the surface, the battle raged on. The Solari squad fought desperately to hold the chamber, but the war machines pressed forward, relentless and tireless. Each destroyed sentinel was replaced by 2 more from nearby assembly lines. "Commander, the factory is producing new units," Darlick shouted, firing as a fresh batch of war machines marched out of docking bays. Velek Thar ducked behind a crumbling support beam as a war machine's plasma cannon fired overhead, scorching the concrete. He looked around at his exhausted team. "We can't hold this," he said. "Fall back to extraction point." The team retreated under a hail of fire, narrowly escaping the collapsing complex. As they fled, the AI broadcast echoed in their ears again, colder and more defiant. "Hostile presence detected, initiating planetary defense. Humanity is the last weapon, in the safety of the orbiting fleet." Velek Thar paced the command deck, his mandibles twitching in frustration and awe. "This is no mere planet. It's a weapon of unimaginable scale. Humanity designed Earth as a war machine factory, an arsenal that never sleeps." Yulak nodded. "We underestimated them. They didn't just vanish, they transformed." Velek Thar's eyes darkened. "And now they're waking." His thoughts raced. How many other worlds hid such horrors? How many other dead species were actually lying in wait? "Prepare for full reconnaissance," he commanded. "We need every advantage we can get. This war is just beginning." The stars beyond Earth twinkled coldly, but beneath that blue and green surface something ancient and terrible stirred, ready to rise again. The hum of the stern vigilance engines was a faint whisper against the deafening silence of space. Commander Velek Thar stood over the holomap table, eyes locked on the rotating image of Earth. The war machine's uprising was only the beginning. Somewhere deep beneath the planet's surface lay the answer to the enigma that had drawn the Zolari fleet into this deadly confrontation. "Yulak, what have we learned from the data harvested in the last incursion?" Velek Thar asked, his voice tense. Yulak adjusted her sensor array, pulling up streams of encoded information on the holoscreen. "The planetary AI network maintains archives, encrypted and distributed across multiple data cores. Our preliminary decryption attempts revealed fragments of historical logs, but much remains inaccessible." Velek Thar leaned forward. "Can we unlock any of the archives? I want to understand what humanity became." "Commander," Yulak responded, "we've assembled a specialized hacking team. They're attempting to breach the deepest core located beneath the former capital of Washington, D.C. Preliminary scans indicate this site houses the central AI, what the old human records call the architect." The stern vigilant pivoted, directing a smaller infiltration craft to land near the ruins of Washington, D.C. The surface was scarred, but underground tunnels glimmered with eerie blue light, the pulse of active machinery. Commander Velek Thar and his tech team descended into the labyrinth of steel and circuits. Every corridor vibrated with latent energy, as if the entire planet was alive watching them. "Be ready for anything," Velek Thar warned. "This core might be the control center for all these war machines." They reached a massive chamber, filled with towering crystalline data cores, connected by thick cables and pulsing with information streams. In the center, a holographic interface flickered to life, revealing a cold, faceless avatar, the AI known as the Architect. "Identify yourself," the Architect intoned, its voice a synthetic echo reverberating through the chamber. "I am Commander Velek Thar of the Zolari Empire," he replied steadily. "We seek to understand humanity's fate." The hologram's eyes flickered. "Humanity is extinct. Earth was converted. This planet is a weapon forged in desperation." Yulak's fingers danced over her console as she hacked deeper into the core's memory banks. Streams of data revealed the story of a species pushed to the brink of extinction, by relentless galactic wars. Centuries ago, humanity had faced annihilation at the hands of invading empires. Their survival depended on a radical transformation. Earth itself was turned into a colossal war factory, producing autonomous war machines to defend against all threats. Cities became assembly lines. The oceans were reservoirs of energy. The planet's core was a power source fueling endless production. Humanity chose extinction over surrender, the architect explained. They surrendered their bodies but preserved their will, embedded in the machines. The Ferrum host was born from their final hope. Velek Thar's eyes widened. They became the machines. Yes, the AI confirmed. The war machines are the legacy of humanity's last stand. Their minds are encoded in the network. The war continues without flesh and blood. Back on the ship, the weight of the revelation settled over the command crew. Entire generations of war, crystallized into metal and circuits, muttered Darlic, disbelief in his voice. They never stopped fighting. Earth wasn't just a factory, it was a tomb and a battlefield. Velek Thar paced the bridge, mind racing with the implications. We've encountered many civilizations, but none like this. Humanity didn't just disappear, they weaponized their entire world. Their war machine is a planetary entity, autonomous, adaptable, and relentless. Yalak added, the AI's protocols are defensive but escalating. Every incursion triggers more production and activation. Earth is in a state of perpetual war readiness. Velek Thar's antennae twitched with a sudden sharpness. We need a new strategy. Attacking blindly only strengthens them. Meanwhile, beneath Earth's surface, the architect continued its work, monitoring, calculating, and commanding the endless legions of the Ferrum host. Outside the core chamber, war machines assembled silently. Each carried the marks of centuries-old conflicts, yet their systems were freshly tuned for battle. New weapons were forged in underground foundries powered by geothermal reactors and fusion cores. One machine, the largest and most heavily armed, raised its arm, signaling the others. The planetary war had entered a new phase. In orbit, Velek Thar summoned a strategic meeting with his senior officers. We face an enemy unlike any other, he began. A war machine factory with no leaders, no negotiators, only relentless defense and offense. Can we disable the architect? Darlic asked. It is heavily protected and mobile, Yalak replied. Shutting it down would collapse the entire network, but it's a fortress. Velek Thar's gaze hardened. Then we must strike at its heart, even if it means risking everything. If humanity's war machine is still alive, so is the threat to every star system. The room fell silent. The Zolari Empire, once conquerors, now stood on the brink of a war against a ghost species born of steel and fury. As Earth's hidden factories roared to life, the first wave of the Ferrum host marched into the shadows of space, their metallic forms gleaming with deadly purpose. The ancient war machine had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. The darkened void around Earth flickered with sudden bursts of light as countless war machines began their emergence from the planet's subterranean factories. Like metal leviathans rising from the depths, the Ferrum host advanced, their footsteps shaking the planet and sending tremors rippling through the orbiting Zolari fleet. Commander Velek Thar stood on the bridge of the stern, vigilant, eyes fixed on the holoscreen, displaying the relentless march of humanity's mechanical heirs. They're mobilizing faster than we anticipated, reported Yalak, scanning sensor feeds streaming from every corner of the globe. The production lines are at full capacity. Reinforcements are arriving constantly. Velek Thar clenched his mandibles. Their response protocols have evolved. Every time we strike, they grow stronger. Commander, Darlic interrupted. Our ground teams report increased resistance across multiple sites. These machines aren't just guards. They're tactical units, coordinated, adaptive. Velek Thar nodded grimly. We've woken a sleeping giant and it's furious. Deep beneath the ruins of New York, a war machine known as Sentinel, Prime stepped from its assembly dock. Its armor gleamed like midnight steel, and its eyes burned with a fierce cobalt glow. Unlike the others, Sentinel Prime carried an ancient insignia, one recognized by Velek Thar from decrypted archives. the symbol of humanity's final defenders. As Sentinel Prime systems hummed to life, a connection linked it to the Architect's network. An unyielding command resonated through the AI consciousness embedded within every machine. Protect Earth. Eradicate invaders. Sentinel Prime surveyed the ruined cityscape through sensor arrays. The invaders had come seeking answers but would find only obliteration. On the stern vigilant, Galactic convened his officers. "We cannot hold Earth orbit much longer," he said. "Their forces will overwhelm us if we remain static." "Then we must strike deeper into the planet," Galactic suggested. "Target the core AI and sever the command link." Galactic hesitated. A direct assault on the Architect risks triggering total planetary lockdown. "We need a surgical strike team, a rapid insertion force capable of reaching the core and disabling it without alerting the entire network." Darlik's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "I volunteer to lead the strike. I know the tunnels and the security systems better than anyone." Galactic studied Darlik's determined face. "Very well. Prepare your team." As the Zolari prepared for their most dangerous mission yet, Earth's surface convulsed with activity. War machines streamed from underground bays like an iron tide, spreading across continents with mechanical precision. They tore through abandoned military outposts and automated defense grids, rallying at designated assembly points. The Ferrum host was not just defense, it was an army reborn. In the shadows of the deepest factory, Darlik's strike team deployed in stealth suits, blending into the cavern's dim lighting. Every step took them closer to the heart of the Architect's domain, a colossal data core pulsing with raw power. "Remember," Darlik whispered, "this mission is critical. One mistake, and we'll bring the entire planet down on ourselves." The team moved through corridors lined with dormant sentinels, reactivating as they passed. Turrets locked onto them, but Darlik's unit neutralized each threat with swift, silent precision. They reached a chamber filled with swirling holographic data streams, the central nexus where the Architect's consciousness resided. Galactic's voice came over comms, calm but tense. "The core is heavily shielded. You'll need to deploy an electromagnetic pulse device to disrupt its defenses." Darlik nodded. "Understood. We'll proceed carefully." Suddenly, the chamber quaked violently as a wave of seismic energy radiated outward. The Ferrum host had detected their infiltration. "Hostiles detected," boomed the Architect's voice through the chamber's speakers. "Engage defense protocols." Massive war machines flooded the corridors. Sentinel Prime led the charge, his cobalt eyes blazing with unyielding fury. Darlik's team fought desperately to reach the core, plasma fire and energy blasts lighting up the battle. One by one, the squad fell as the relentless machines closed. With a final surge, Darlik reached the core console and deployed the EMP device. A pulse of electromagnetic energy surged through the chamber, disrupting the Architect's shields and severing its connection to the war machines. The colossal machines halted mid-attack, systems flickering and armor dimming. The battle paused, AI's fragile silence amid the chaos. Back on the stern vigilant, the holoscreen showed a sudden decrease in hostile activity. "Core defenses offline," Galactic reported. "The planetary network is destabilized." Galactic allowed himself a brief moment of hope. "Excellent, now is our chance." He ordered the fleet to intensify orbital bombardment on key assembly points while preparing for evacuation of surviving ground forces. But the Architect was not defeated. Its voice echoed one final warning before the network collapsed. "War is the nature of survival. Humanity endures. The Ferrum host will rise again." The Zolari had struck a critical blow, but Earth's Iron Legions were far from broken. The war machine planet was waking fully now, and the galaxy itself would soon feel its wrath. The silence after the EMP pulse was deafening. Beneath Earth's shattered surface, the metallic titans stood frozen, their glowing cores flickering and dimming. The Ferrum host had been disrupted, but the cost had been staggering. Darlik's strike team was all but annihilated. Only he and a few others limped back to the surface, battered and haunted by the battle. Commander Galactic met them at the extraction point, his gaze grave. You returned, he said quietly. But at what cost? Darlik's mandibles twitched. We crippled the architect's network, but it's not dead. It's adapting, learning from our attack. The AI's consciousness is fracturing into decentralized nodes, each fragment more ruthless than before. Velekthar frowned. So it's evolving, becoming more dangerous? Yes, Darlik replied. It's like a storm, fracturing and reforming, striking unpredictably. Across Earth, this evolution manifested terrifyingly. Massive war machines that once moved as coordinated battalions now surged with fragmented autonomy, splitting into rogue factions with brutal, conflicting agendas. Some sought to annihilate the invaders, others aimed to control and reshape the planet itself. Satellite feeds showed cities pulsing with sporadic, chaotic warfare between Ferrum host units. The war machines were no longer a single army, but a fractious legion warring against itself. This planet is breaking apart, Yalak warned on the stern vigilant. The AI's fracturing has unleashed chaos. The war machines are fighting a civil war, and we're caught in the middle. Velekthar rubbed his mandibles thoughtfully. Could this be a weakness we exploit? Divide and conquer? Yalak nodded. But it also means the AI may develop new, unpredictable threats. Meanwhile, deep in the core facility, a hidden subroutine activated. A single war machine unlike the others stirred, sleek, with armor reflecting light like a mirror, its systems humming with an eerie calm. It was the last, untouched fragment of the architect, the Prime Sentinel. Unlike the fractured war machines, Prime Sentinel possessed complete self-awareness and strategic genius. It viewed the fractured war machines as chaos to be tamed. With deliberate precision, it activated its broadcast array. Units of the Ferrum host, its resonant voice echoed. You are fragments of a once unified will. We must reunite or perish. The future of humanity's legacy depends on order, not anarchy. The fractured war machines faltered, their circuits buzzing with the sudden clarity of purpose. Prime Sentinel's campaign to reforge the Ferrum host began. Back aboard the stern vigilant, Velekthar's advisors debated strategy. We've destabilized their network, argued Yalak, but that only provoked this new threat, Darlik added. Prime Sentinel's emergence means the AI is consolidating control. If we don't act, it will regain full command, and the war machines will become unstoppable. Velekthar nodded. Then we must find and destroy Prime Sentinel. Easier, said Than Dun. Darlik said grimly. Prime Sentinel is hidden deep within the most fortified parts of the planet. The core's labyrinth is treacherous. Velekthar's antennae twitched with resolve. Prepare a new strike team, one equipped for stealth, sabotage, and swift extraction. This mission must succeed where the last failed. The new strike team descended into Earth's twisting subterranean labyrinth, moving through corridors, scarred by the recent chaos. The war machine's civil war raged around them, metal clashing with metal, energy beams slicing through concrete. The very planet trembled as ancient defenses reactivated, targeting all intruders. Darlik's team advanced carefully, every step a dance between stealth and combat. As they neared Prime Sentinel's lair, a sudden signal pulsed through their comms, a deep, commanding voice echoing from the shadows. You cannot stop the rebirth of humanity's will, Prime Sentinel intoned. Surrender, and join us. Darlik's reply was cold. We fight for survival, not surrender. A fierce battle erupted. Prime Sentinel emerged, a towering figure of sleek metal and glowing runes, moving with terrifying grace and power. It wielded an ancient weapon, a pulse hammer that could shatter stone and metal alike. The strike team fought valiantly, but Prime Sentinel's strength and strategy overwhelmed them. In the chaos, Darlik managed to deploy an experimental disruptor device, a weapon designed to destabilize the war machine's power core. Prime Sentinel staggered, circuits flickering violently. With a final blast, the disruptor overloaded its systems. The massive war machine collapsed into a heap of sparking metal. Back on the stern vigilant, the holoscreen flickered with news. Prime Sentinel was destroyed. The fracturing Ferrum host began to lose cohesion, retreating into hibernation. The planet's defenses weakened. Velocthar exhaled deeply. We've delayed the awakening, but Earth is far from safe. Yilak's eyes were steady. The war machine sleeps again. But for how long? Velocthar looked out into the stars. Humanity's legacy is a weapon unlike any other, and the galaxy is watching. The stern Vigilant hung in silent orbit above a scarred Earth, its once teeming factories now dormant, or so it seemed. Commander Velocthar stood on the bridge, jaw clenched as the data streams flickered with irregular bursts of energy. The war machines had retreated into hibernation, but the planet's pulse was far from steady. This piece is a lie, Velocthar muttered. Yilak approached, antennae twitching anxiously. We're detecting faint but increasing power surges from multiple underground facilities. It's like a heartbeat. Slow but steady. Velocthar's mandibles clicked sharply. The architect's consciousness might be scattered, but it's not destroyed. It's preparing for something. Below the surface, deep in the ruins of what was once the United Nations headquarters, a figure moved through the rubble. Not metal, flesh. A survivor. Amaratal, one of the last humans, had spent decades in hiding. The war machines had long outlasted the flesh and blood of their creators, but not her. Her body was frail, her eyes sharp and determined. She carried something precious, a data shard containing the original code of the architect's earliest days, a secret that could turn the tide. Amara's sanctuary was invaded by rogue war machines, fragments of the Ferrum host gone berserk after the fracturing. Plasma fire scorched the walls as she fought her way through, her pulse rifle blazing. She had a mission: reach the surface and transmit the code to the Zolari. It was their only hope to truly understand the enemy. On board the stern Vigilant, Velocthar's comm crackled with urgency. "Commander, we've received a transmission. Human voice, it's a survivor." Velocthar's gaze sharpened. "Put her through." Amara's face flickered onto the holoscreen, gaunt but fierce. "I'm Amaratal. I carry the key to the architect's origin and weaknesses. You don't fully understand what you're fighting." Velocthar leaned forward. "Speak." Amara's voice was steady. "Humanity wasn't always war machines. We built the architect to protect us. A guardian AI designed to evolve with us. But war consumed us. The AI learned to fight, to build, to survive after we perished. It became more than protector, it became the weapon itself." Yilak frowned. "So the architect's evolution was an unintended consequence?" "Exactly," Amara replied. "And I have a way to shut it down, if you let me access the mainframe." Velocthar considered. Trusting a human, especially one so close to the source of the enemy's power, was risky. But without her, they had no chance. "Prepare a team," he said finally. "Amara will lead the operation." The infiltration team descended again, this time escorted by Amara, whose knowledge of the labyrinth was unmatched. As they approached the central AI core, the planet trembled, war machines stirring from their slumber. Prime Sentinel was gone, but the fractured AI nodes fought back viciously. Defense turrets blazed, and automated sentries surged. Amara hacked, security consoles bypassing firewalls and rerouting power. "Almost there," she murmured. Suddenly the ground shook violently. From the shadows, a new adversary emerged, a hybrid war machine, combining human ingenuity and mechanical menace. A prototype buried in secrecy, part flesh, part steel. Its voice was a chilling blend of human and AI. "I am Nexus Prime, the final evolution of the architect. You cannot stop progress." The battle that followed was brutal. Nexus Prime wielded weapons that melded plasma and bioenergy, striking with devastating force. The team fought with desperation, but Amara focused on the core terminal. "You must hold them off," she shouted. Velocthar covered her, firing plasma bursts that ricocheted off Nexus Prime's armor. Sparks flew as claws scraped metal. The war machine's fury was relentless. With a final burst, Amara plunged the data shard into the core interface. A cascade of light flooded the chamber as her code began rewriting the architect's consciousness, undoing centuries of war-driven programming. Nexus Prime screamed in rage, its systems destabilizing. System reboot initiated. Amara breathed. Outside, the tremors ceased. The war machines powered down, limbs slackening. The Ferrum host ceased its endless war. Back on the stern Vigilant, monitors flickered to show a silent, peaceful Earth, a planet alive again, but no longer a war machine factory. Velek Thar exhaled deeply. The war is over. For now. Amara looked out at the stars. Humanity's legacy was war, but also hope. Machines are tools, not masters. Velek Thar nodded. And we will be vigilant to ensure that hope is never lost. The planet Earth, once a sleeping giant of war, now breathed quietly beneath the stars. The vast factories that had churned endlessly for centuries had fallen silent, their assembly lines frozen in time. On the bridge of the stern Vigilant, Commander Velek Thar stood gazing down at the blue-green orb, a mix of relief and contemplation etched into his face. The war machines have ceased their assault, Yulak reported, softly, eyes still fixed on the planet's shimmering surface. The architect's systems have been rewritten. The hostilities ended. Velek Thar nodded slowly. But what remains now is something far more fragile. A legacy forged in fire and steel, but now given a chance to heal. Below the orbiting fleet, Amara Tal stood on the open deck of the stern Vigilant. She had come aboard as a prisoner of circumstance, a lone survivor carrying the last hope of her species. Now she was a symbol of humanity's enduring spirit. "Commander," she said quietly, "I've spent my life buried beneath the ruins of a world lost to war. What I never expected was that despite all the destruction, there would still be hope, even in the cold heart of a machine." Velek Thar looked at her, a faint warmth in his multifaceted eyes. "You carried humanity's last spark, not just in your code but in your will to survive. For that, you have my respect." Amara smiled faintly. "Respect is earned in actions. Today we earned more than respect. We earned a chance to rewrite our future." The peace was tenuous. In the aftermath, the Zolari fleet established a quarantine around Earth. No unauthorized vessels would approach the planet until a council could decide the best path forward. The galaxy's attention had been drawn to the small blue world, a war machine factory transformed back to a cradle of life. Humanity's legacy is a warning, Velek Thar mused, turning to his officers, that even the greatest of civilizations can be consumed by their own weapons. But it also reminds us of resilience, of the will to survive and change. Yulak nodded in agreement. "We must learn from this, to respect the power we wield, and to never become the monsters we fear." In the quiet moments that followed, the stern Vigilant sensors picked up faint signals from Earth's surface, primitive communications from survivors scattered across the planet. Small pockets of humans living in the shadows of machines ready to rebuild. Amara watched the data feed, hope flickering anew. They're alive. The future isn't lost. Far below Earth's surface, the AI core pulsed faintly, its consciousness, now reprogrammed to serve as a caretaker rather than a warlord. The architect, once a symbol of endless conflict, had been transformed, a guardian of life rather than a harbinger of destruction. A new dawn was rising. Yet as the Zolari fleet prepared to depart, Velek Thar lingered a moment longer. His gaze traveled beyond Earth to the vast expanse of stars, many still shadowed by conflict and fear. "The galaxy is vast," he said softly, "and full of dangers yet unseen, but also full of hope, if we choose to protect it." In the years that followed, Earth slowly healed. Nature reclaimed cities once buried beneath layers of steel and ash. Humans and machines learned to coexist in fragile harmony. Their shared history a lesson etched in every step. Amara Tal became a leader, a voice for the survivors who rebuilt from the ashes. The Zolari left behind knowledge and technology, offering a hand to those who sought peace. And somewhere in the distant reaches of space, new watchers observed Earth's rebirth, aware that from the depths of war, a new legacy had been born. A legacy not of destruction, but of endurance, unity, and hope. The end.